Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Jessie Cruikshank, and I've always been told I have a face for podcasting. So I launched a podcast. It's called Phone a Friend because each week I'll break down the biggest stories in pop culture. But when I have questions, I get to phone a friend. I'll phone a royal watcher to find out why Prince Harry is acting like a real housewife. I'll phone a tween to please explain Euphoria. And maybe I'll even phone a Backstreet Boy to find out if I still have a chance. I don't? Okay. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is The Cinemile. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Today we're going to see Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the latest thorn in Kathy's side in her ongoing battle with big budget cinema.
It's not a thorn on my side, actually, because I really liked the first Black Panther, albeit I need you to give me a refresh because I don't remember it, but I do remember really enjoying it.
Do you want a recap right now?
I'd love a recap, but yeah, so this isn't a thorn on my side, actually. Like, I have vowed to, for example, never watch another Thor movie. But
is that your vow?
Yeah, I will.
mean, you vowed never to watch another Marvel movie about 8 years ago.
Well, there's certainly like a lot of the TV shows now that I'll just refuse to watch, like flat out. But
there's
but
too
I
many
love
though.
Hulk,
I think that they do require some selective.
They require, and we talk about them over on our Patreon. But we did both just love She-Hulk, and we just saw Letitia Wright in Aisha, which is an incredible movie.
Go see that movie. It's on Sky Cinema.
Yeah, brilliant movie, and she's in it. So it's funny that we're going to do these back to back. What a time for her to be in like one of the biggest movies of the year and then one of the most important movies of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see her. And I'm also just kind of really interested to see how they address all the Chadwick Boseman stuff. It's obviously like really sad that he's passed away, and I know how inspirational he was. Many young black kids, so I'm just really interested to kind of see how they address all that in general.
Me too, and I don't know how they're going to. I know, except that I know they're not. They haven't recast the role, which I think is a nice sort of tribute, and so I'm interested to see how they'll work around that.
Yeah, how you can work it into it. So yeah, that's all really interesting
also,
to me. So no, this isn't a thorn on my side, but I do need a recap because I can't actually remember the last
Before we
movie.
do the recap, just to say, I don't normally watch trailers because I find them full of... I don't watch trailers for movies I know I'm going to see because I find that they just give you too much information about the movie and can be spoilery. But the buzz for the first Black Panther Wakanda Forever teaser trailer was so strong. I was like, I've got to check this thing out.
Teasers are fine anyway.
Oh my god, it was this is an amazing trailer. So I think this movie's got a lot to live up to from that trailer with the score to No Woman No Cry. Beautiful trailer. Like one of the best trailers of the year. Right, so Black Panther. Spoilers for the movie Black Panther. Okay, so I'm going to try and sum this up super quick for Kathy in 30 seconds. Let's go. Okay, so T'Challa, who we had already met in Civil War, which was the second ever episode of this podcast.
Right,
Captain America Civil War. That's the way he was introduced. His father dies in that. He becomes the king of Wakanda, a nation that has...
I do remember Wakanda.
A nation that is perceived by the world as a third world country, but in reality is secretly the most technologically advanced nation on Earth because it has access to vibranium, which is what Captain America's shield is made out of, and many other things. In that movie, they are challenged by Michael B. Jordan's character.
Oh, I loved him in it. I forgot he was in it.
Who refers to himself as Killmonger, and he is a former child of Wakanda who was whose father was murdered by the brother.
What part of this is a 30-second summary?
Are you keeping track? Basically, he takes the nation over, becomes the Black Panther, and then there's some awesome fights. T'Challa loses the power and sort of becomes... Do you remember there's an awesome waterfall challenge fight scene where if you've been named the king, you fight someone, and if you win, you become the king.
Very vague.
And it was brilliant. And anyway, it's a brilliant movie. It was like a really fun spy sort of movie, and also sort of a real cool celebration and infusion of a variety of different sort of African cultures blended together into a cool fictional nation called Wakanda, which again featured heavily in Avengers Infinity War, which you really liked but probably don't remember that either.
I do remember that being in Wakanda though. And then it was Ryan Coogler, right, who had done Creed, which we love.
That's right, and he's back to direct this.
Okay, yeah, so no, I am excited for this one actually. Now the runtime has me a bit scared.
Oh, it's too long already. 2 hours,
I know it's too long
minutes.
already. But look, we'll put that aside. Let's not speak of that again. We've made the point. We'll go and see it now and we'll be back on the other side.
Bye.
His people did not call him general or king. They called him Kukul Khan, the feather serpent god. Killing him will risk eternal war.
He's coming for the surface world.
We know what you whisper. They have lost their protector. Now is our time to strike. Show them who we are.
Hi there, hello.
Hello.
We're back, it's us. We've seen Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. It's been hours since we've seen you. And as always on the Cinemile, there won't be any spoilers for this movie until we get to spoiler street. So firstly, let's just talk about how we feel. How does this movie make you feel? Should people watch this movie?
So I actually really enjoyed it. I think they handled really brilliantly the passing of the Black Panther, and I think I love what they did in the opening credit scenes, and I think the film surprised me because so often with Marvel movies they're completely tangled up in like Marvel lore and they get very dull for me. So I liked that this movie actually was like completely separate, because I know when they'd all been in Endgame they'd all been mixed up, so I was glad that it was really separate again.
Well, I would argue this is mixed up in Marvel lore, but it's new Marvel lore.
Or stuff that I don't know about.
To this cinematic universe.
Yeah, that I'm not bored of already.
I would say you definitely really don't need to have seen any previous Marvel stuff to get
but I think you'd want to have seen the last Black Panther.
It would help to have seen Black Panther, for sure.
So I really love the journey of Letitia Wright. I found the plot really compelling. There's a kind of Lost City of Atlantis vibe plot, some of which worked for me, some of which didn't. And I know we mentioned the run length beforehand, but if it had just been a bit shorter, I think I would have been a bit more engaged by that stuff. But overall, I was quite moved at the end as well, and I just think Letitia Wright's amazing. I can't believe she's in these two films back to back, like as in they're out within a week of each other. Like that's something else for an actor. I think she completely held the movie, and like it's quite a big leap up from what I remember her being as, like, you know, a side character in the last one.
Yeah.
I think she's holds the movie together.
She's almost like a comic relief buddy for T'Challa, and she's a lot more lighthearted. I think
she's so serious in
her
this movie. And
her role in this is a lot different, and she steps up to the challenge.
So I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the music, and I have to say I just really enjoyed it. Now, is it like my favourite movie ever? No. Is it a patch on Aisha? No.
Yeah, but you can't compare it. That's not fair to
compare
compare
it. I just
Why don't you compare it
movie?
to the first Black Panther? That's more
can't,
of a fair
I don't
comparison.
really remember it. But this would be in my top Marvel movies, right? Of all the ones I've enjoyed, this is up top. And I also just love the significance, and it does not go in any way unnoticed, the significance of like multiple scenes that are just these amazing black women and no one else is on screen, and they're like holding up this tentpole movie, and like how inspiring that is.
It is
for
amazing.
anyone to watch, never mind like a young black girl. Like, it's incredible and wonderful, and the fact that it's, you know, such a big movie, and I know the cultural impact that the first movie had, and you know, Marvel went far too long without having any female or black lead characters. So this movie, you know, it's brilliant. I love it. I love that.
Not just Marvel, but definitely Marvel, but also just
Not
like
just Marvel,
cinema,
but
like
Marvel
big budget Hollywood cinema. If you think
I agree,
of how
but
far
Marvel is now big budget Hollywood cinema. So
yes, no, I'm saying they took too long too.
Yeah.
But I think it is an incredible to have witnessed in our lifetime, like the difference in like when we came up on like spectacle cinema in the 90s. It was I don't know, what was it like, Independence Day and
well, it was
big action movies, but always like there was very little representation, or it was tokenism. To go from that to, as you say, a film. This film is all of the protagonists are black women.
Yeah.
Right. Like all of them.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it is, you know, also America is the bad guy.
I love that.
That's another interesting thing
love
in this.
That, yeah.
Like,
anyway, what's your overall thought on the film, though, before we get to spoilers?
Oh yeah, sure. So I kind of agree with all the things you said, but I didn't like it as much as you did.
Mm-hmm.
I think this film is good, not great. I think it has some really great elements. I think Letitia Wright is fantastic. She holds this movie up.
She's so regal as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she's brilliant. She's doing all the heavy lifting here. Angela Bassett is great in the supporting role.
Do you know what
Kinda
Angela
gets more
Bassett
to do
for me
here.
was like? I love Angela Bassett, but
she's a bit over the top in a
jumped
couple of
into
scenes.
parody in a couple of scenes, like,
we'll talk about that in spoiler street.
I thought she was like it was like she was on stage as opposed to in a film.
Nam 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 scenery. But
I liked it, but it threw me off. It didn't quite match the tone of the rest of the film.
Yeah, this is Letitia Wright's movie.
Yeah.
And her character becomes very interesting.
And I'd forgotten what a great scientist she is. I love all that stuff as well.
So I think as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, this movie is very successful. I think it's done very delicately and touchingly, and they, you know, they parallel real life. That was the choice they made, and it's
really
very
hard.
effective.
Like that's so hard for them to have worked through and figured out what to do.
Yeah, I agree. So the beginning and end of this movie tie into that directly, and I think are very successful at doing that. Now, what I think it falls over is everything else it's trying to do in the middle. Yeah, this movie suffers in the way that was it one of the Ultron, the Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, is often criticized for trying to kind of be a movie but also set up a load of other things, right? And that's a common criticism of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. And I feel like this movie, this isn't a spoiler, but like Ironheart is in this movie. She is very, I would say, redundant.
Is that Julie Louis-Dreyfus?
No, this is the young black scientist who becomes a kind of
I loved her.
No, she's great, very charming actress. But she is total. If you took her out of this movie, it would make no difference.
Oh,
to
I disagree.
anything.
We'll get to spoiler street on that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But if you took her out of the movie, I don't think it would make any difference to the movie. It's really just table setting for here's another character. So what I don't like is these backdoor pilots which they shove into these movies. And that is part of the reason this becomes a bloated mess for me. And I was genuinely, for the first half of this movie, quite bored. And I don't think the movie had any real momentum or impetus. It was, and
it was like a character journey, which I was really enjoying.
No, but yeah, okay, go on.
But the Ironheart thing, I didn't know any of that, so I didn't feel like it was table setting, and I actually just enjoyed her and thought she was really cool. And I love how they're both really scientific and their minds work together.
Just to be clear, I thought she was great. I think the character's great. I think the actor's great. I'm saying give her own movie or a TV series, which is probably what's going to happen. Don't force her into this movie. Focus on Wakanda, focus on Shuri, because that's all the stuff that's working for me.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it in Spoiler Street, but I thought the whole Namor, whatever the name of it, Atlantis knockoff,
Aquaman,
was a mixed bag, I think.
I enjoyed some of it, and then it got tedious. But again, it's just, I think actually the majority of our problems are related to the length.
Yeah.
Because inherently something gets baggy and
we'll
things
talk
don't
in
work.
Spoiler Street, because I was watching this bored. I felt like there was like really, it was just pointless. It was point A to point B to point C, you need to get here, and I was just like, my God, I could just cut an hour out of this movie and make it a lot more efficient, and I feel would be better for it, because it would have the scenes that have genuine dramatic and emotional impact would be more impactful when they're not weighed down by 45 minutes to an hour of just plots.
That's interesting, because I often get really, really bored in Marvel movies, particularly towards the end.
Yeah.
And I never got bored in this one. Now, there was a point at the end where I felt like it had ended, and then there was like numerous epilogues. But I didn't even mind them. I think I was just...
No, that's okay.
I'm
okay with that.
experiencing it as like a character journey, and it was like, for me, it was just like watching Letitia Wright. I think I may also have been more partial to it because we've just watched her in another very much character journey. So I was like really with her, and I never got bored. And like normally I'll often get bored at the end in like actiony scenes. I didn't either in this one, so I was never bored. But at the same time, I was thinking this is too long. So.
I think the screenplay is the problem, and a tighter edit. And I'll talk about in spoilers where I think specifically I would have trimmed. Okay, but otherwise, like I think it is a good time. It looks good. It's a good follow-up to the first one. It is not as good as the first one. I really don't think so. I think it's trying too hard to be too many things.
But do you think this often happens with these movies, is that the first one is like a blast of fresh air and it's exciting, but then we've since seen Wakanda and Endgame, and now we see it again, so the joy of seeing Wakanda, the mystery of that is kind of gone.
I actually disagree. I think this movie is poorer for not spending enough time in Wakanda. It's doing too much other things. If they had spent the whole movie with a Wakanda-based plot with an internal conflict, I would have been more on board with that, personally, because Wakanda is awesome.
So are you telling me that you are getting sick of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Is that what you're telling me? Because that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, kind of. And
when you said backdoor pilot, that's such a good... They're always backdooring leading up to other things.
That's not new information. I said the same going into Doctor Strange. I said the same into Thor. I'm getting fed up with it.
Yeah.
And I am, genuinely am. It's just like there's kind of no end in sight.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about in spoilers, it feels like when we get to spoilers, we'll talk about like there's things in this movie that seem like they're planning like 20 years ahead, right? Just like, I'm tired already. I'm tired of it.
It's a shame that they didn't make this movie earlier in the cinematic universe, because I love her as a character and I love Wakanda, but because it's all become so bloated, you can't help but have that resonate.
If this was a 2-hour movie about Shuri and Wakanda and just that, and then give her the Namor conflict as well, and strip all that other stuff out, I think this would be a lot better for it.
Okay.
Anyway,
now we go to Spoiler Street.
Before we get to Spoiler Street, though, can I take this opportunity?
Yes, you
please?
can.
Would you mind if I take this opportunity?
I wouldn't.
To personally thank our new patrons over at patreon.com/The Cinemile, and they are Charles Tinsley. Thank you, Charles.
Thanks, Charles.
Sophie Keeley. Thank you, Sophie. And Gary Robbins. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. And they have all joined at the rate of £2 or £3 a month, or £2.50 or €4 a month. I forget the currency is off, but it's about about the price of a coffee a month. And what do they get? They get instant access to 40 retro movies, 50 plus spoilerific TV recaps.
Yeah, including we've just reviewed all of Rings of Power, all of House of the Dragon, and we're currently watching The White Lotus. We're currently chatting about kind of all the TVs we watch in general, in both spoiler ways and non-spoiler ways over there. So come over and say hi.
Next week I'm going to be doing a live bonus episode on all of Andor Season 1 for all of our patrons. And also you can vote on our next retro movie, which is the first movie that you saw at the cinema. So we've got a selection of ones that our patrons have shared their stories with. So it's a good time to join our Patreon, patreon.com/The Cinema. All right. Oh, look at this. Oh, we're on Spoiler Street.
Hello, Spoiler
How about
Street.
that? So spoilers now for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and I guess Black Panther. And
I guess all 538 films in the cinematic universe.
I don't think we really have
and
to
all the TV shows, because I am going to talk about the Captain America TV show.
Oh, you are?
And the Falcon Soldier, whatever the fuck it was called.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, some spoilers. I guess, and if we do reference any of those individual things, we will give you a quick spoiler heads up.
Go on.
As we go.
Any spoilers, because I don't want to know myself.
Oh, no spoilers for you. Okay, yeah, we'll let you go. See, it's dangerous just walking around. Anyone can get spoilers anywhere. We're just a walking spoiler time bomb.
We are.
All right, so
can I say the things that, you know, the way to the point you were saying things could be taken out?
you can say the things, yeah.
I don't think
What would you have taken
I
out?
don't think the young scientist needs to be taken out. I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Martin Freeman needed to be taken
Yes,
out.
neither
What
of them contributed
happening?
anything to this movie.
To the point where I was watching it, just like the brain creaking. Like, wait a second, didn't Julia Louis-Dreyfus show up in spoilers for Black Widow? And didn't she show up in Winter Soldier?
Yeah,
and
she did.
Isn't she supposed to be like creating like a league of bad Avengers?
She's going
So
to
why
create
is she in this film?
the Thunderbolts, which they have announced.
But why is she in this film as Martin Freeman's ex-wife?
I think just to set her two things up. One, that she is the director of the CIA now, I guess, or was. I don't know, who cares. And also is Martin Freeman's ex-wife. Does any of that matter? Does anything they do in this movie have any impact?
No.
On anything? No, it does not. Nothing. Absolutely
Even
nothing.
when I mentioned a couple of epilogues, his epilogue at the end, I was like, I don't care
was
what
like,
happens.
oh, wow.
I'd already forgotten he'd been arrested. So
Exactly.
I think those two, we could have shaved a clean 10 minutes off the film.
Yeah.
And in fact,
They were
all it's done is, like, the first time I saw Julia Louis-Dreyfus show up at the end of Black Widow, I was really pumped because I love her. She's one of my favourite actresses. By the end of this film, I'm like, I don't care to ever see her again.
Also,
I don't care for any of those movies. I don't understand why she was here.
Also, can I just say, I completely agree with everything you're saying. And the thing that really baffled me about her appearance was that she shows up at the crime scene after Shuri and the Ironheart have been taken. She shows up, says to Martin Freeman, "What have we got here?" Then looks at some evidence, does nothing, and then says, "Right, I have to get back to DC. You drive me." And he's like, "It's a 6-hour drive." And it's just like, "Oh, but I want to talk to you." It's just like, wait, you came here 6 hours to not do anything. And
And to fill our
give one
screen.
instruction. There was nothing to see except Martin Freeman found some beads, which later she said was bugged. And then
And
I'm
that's
like,
the table setting stuff that you're saying. They're trying to lay Julia Louis-Dreyfus up, but like they didn't need to. We know her; she's super famous. We don't need her teed up for us. And then Martin Freeman, I never really got in the first film anyway. I thought he was weird in it, and I don't get him in this film.
Yeah.
So he was just like for continuity almost, and then it's like someone around the table was like, "Oh, great! Well, actually, him and Julia Louis-Dreyfus can be married because why not?"
there was a great joke going around in the first Black Panther that Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman both played prominent roles in The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So in this movie they were the Tolkien white guys, which I think is excellent.
Andy Serkis was in this movie.
He was in the first one.
Oh. I was like, what CGI character
So yeah,
did he play?
I would have cut them out. Ironheart, look, is charming.
I loved her.
She's good, but it grinds the film to a halt in that beginning when it's like, now we're gonna go off and do this mission. So it's like,
No, I liked
bring
the
me the
mission.
scientist. They go get the scientist. Then they go. It's just like all of that was like, and honestly, it wasn't very fun. It was that whole action scene in the car and her in the air. It felt too floaty. Nothing felt, no stakes. She shoots down a drone thing.
I do agree with you that all would have been better teased out and better served the character in a TV show. But I liked the idea that someone has made a machine that can hunt vibranium, and therefore the sea people want that scientist. I don't mind any of that, but I agree with you that too much time was spent on then getting the scientist. I also don't understand, and I know they were trying to show us like a central moral dilemma of like how like Michael B. Jordan was versus how like the Black Panther was, but
But it
I
takes
don't
so
understand
long to get to that.
But even that, I don't understand why Angela Bassett would have died to save the scientist's life. I just don't.
That all felt very perfunctory, didn't it? Like I didn't
she's the
feel anything when
queen.
Angela Bassett died.
She's the queen, and like she's dying to save this pleb's life, and I say it in the sense of like how royals view the common people. Like I just don't buy it.
No, I do buy that, and this one thing I really liked about this movie was that this is for me what superhero movies should be and should aspire to be,
Moral
in that
dilemmas.
they are presenting to young audiences like moral education, right? Like, because let's face it, we learned from Superman like how, like what the ideal of like justice in the American way should be. Do you know, these superheroes are supposed to represent the best of us, and I found that the central theme of this movie I thought was relatively, you know, we've seen it a lot, and is relatively simplistic, but is a good and important one, which is Shuri choosing between her brother's nobility, you know, being noble, doing the right thing, or Killmonger and his sort of, you know, giving into vengeance and feeling.
Well, the fish guy basically was like, there's one or there's an other, and there's nothing in between. And obviously, I guess by the end, Shuri's like the in between, though they didn't quite explicitly tie it back to that line, which I thought they were gonna. But like, I do agree with you. I agree with you in theory on that, but I think the scientist, I don't believe that the entire of Wakanda would have fallen to save one American girl's life. I just don't.
Well, no, but I think they represented that okay in the council scene when one of them was just like, let him have the girl, and another one was like, no, let's go kill him. Kill the fish man, right? They were having the debate.
I would have loved to see more of that council, because as it was happening, I was remembering the first movie, and I loved that guy, the kind of like badass guy.
Yeah, from the outsider.
Yeah.
There's like a snowy outsider people.
I really
Wakanda.
remember then enjoying him in the first movie, and
he's good in this.
I
as
like
well.
that he's like, I promise your brother I'd be your counsel, and when she's like, kill the fish guy, he's like, no, that's actually a really bad idea, and he gave her like actual good counsel.
Even though he'd said kill the fish guy about
I
half
also
an hour
love that
earlier.
to turn into Black Panther, that you only need to prove that you can arm wrestle this dude. And then you're Black Panther. That appeared to be the ceremony.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, she arm wrestled him, and then he was like, Black Panther forever!
Oh, yeah, I guess. Okay.
I love her as Black Panther. Like, I think she actually had like Michelle Pfeiffer in like Batman vibes.
It was
really
awesome.
enjoyed. Like, I guessed the movie was going to be her becoming Black Panther, but I wasn't sure.
I wasn't
and
sure
I love
either.
how she earned it, because she like synthesized the potion. So she like really earned it.
If she can synthesize plants, though, out of nothing, like 3D print plant, then has she not just solved world hunger?
No, because she synthesized something that is a combination of your man's mum's beads, her brother's DNA, and a load of white balls that live in the air.
Do you know what? I'm okay with all that. I liked the science montage. I was behind it, and I liked Ironheart building her suit and all that. And I like that she's a cool engineer. Right?
It's fun.
What I think is baffling is that Disney this month released a film about blue people who live in the water fighting an aggressive colonial force over a precious resource called vibranium, and next month they're going to release a film about blue people who live in water fighting a colonial aggressive force over a precious resource called unobtainium.
Is it called Unobtainium?
It is called unobtainium.
Is Avatar by Disney?
Avatar is by Disney.
Wow.
It's the same movie.
I was, because the Avatar
And
trailer
there's
was
a
on
trailer before
Yeah,
it.
and I was
It's
like,
like-
sorry. I was like, this is like a combination of Aquaman, like Lost City of Atlantis shit, and Avatar.
Now-
like, as soon as she went... By the way, I found all that underwater stuff and the guy very compelling as like a concept of all of these people living under the water, and like what had happened to his mom and how he was like a mutant and all that kind of stuff. But again, it was just like, but what movie am I watching?
Yeah, you're like, I really wanted... I came here for Wakanda Forever. I really would have liked a Wakanda movie, because I thought the opening stuff with like how they perform a funeral and the
it
dancing
was
and all that is like beautiful and cool, and I felt like, look, this is a complaint. It's world building. Was it
Then
completely
he's like,
successful?
in the future they'll come to help us at the end. He said that, so it's like, oh great.
It's
so
just
in
another thing.
Who is that actor? I didn't recognize him.
He's a Mexican actor. I wasn't familiar with him either.
Huge role.
But I've got IMDb open, and his name is I'm probably mispronouncing it. Tenoch Huerta.
He's really good in this. I just
he
felt
had a
for
cool
him.
look.
I hate to be in like my boxers for the entire movie.
I know. And did you see that you can go online and people have found behind the scenes footage and stills from the final movie, which indicate that they have digitally altered his crotch. Because they've reduced his bulge to make it less distracting. Can you imagine? Can you imagine some?
He's like, could you not alter it the other way?
Some guy or girl at ILM it was their job to just digitally reduce his penis in every frame by frame.
That is mad. I love their idea of like making like a vacuum to suck the water out of him. What was interesting is like how catastrophically badly that went. And I liked that because Letitia Wright got too power, like very quickly became too drunk on her own power.
I like that.
So I think
and I
she
loved
did deserve to fail there.
All that was class, and I loved when then she was like, get to the desert quick. It was just like, and he's just tearing the ship apart with his
But they don't even go to a
vibranium
desert,
sword.
they go to just a beach.
I know, but I thought that was...
Stabbed her fully through the stomach.
Oh, I thought that final fight between the two of them, I thought was awesome.
I did as well.
And then when she does the Wakanda Forever, and then just like explodes the ship behind him, I was like, whoa!
Yeah, that was so cool.
And for a moment I thought, whoa, she's actually killed him and she's gone to the dark side.
Yeah,
and
that would have been interesting too, but I didn't want it for her.
No,
I really liked
and I
her
also
as a
didn't want it
character.
for the kids in the audience. And I think this is like back to my point. I think it is important that superheroes do make like the right choice. Like, is it worth fighting for one person, and is it right to prevent war? Like, fight as much as these movies are and always end up being just lots of violence and fight scenes. They are searching, and they do end on a peaceful. Like that is the goal: is a non-violent solution
but
to
it's
the
so
conflict.
Funny. The goal of a Marvel movie is a non-violent solution after a 55-minute violence
I know. Look, it's relatively hypocritical.
I really enjoyed though what I thought was really good, and to go back up to very early in the film, like I guess like the second scene after the opening, when we meet the scientists who are looking for the vibranium and they're out at sea, and it's almost like
that was a brilliant
monster
scene.
movie.
It was like a horror movie,
and they're like mermaids. They're all singing.
Oh, that was so creepy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I think the singing thing went unexplored. And like it came back again at the end, but like I didn't.
Yeah,
wait, they're hypnotising people on Earth. I didn't.
I was
that.
expecting a moment where Shuri would say, "Hey, everybody, put in these headphones,
yeah,
and you'll all be fine."
Like nothing came of it, and I loved that they had the ship with like the sonic thing. But then you're I guess the second in command of like the fish people.
She
like
was
attacked
cool.
it. She was
her
so
and the
cool.
other guy as the sort of primary henchmen of Namor, I thought were awesome. I also loved the look of the I don't know what they're called, the fish people. You know, the way they had these masks that had water when they were above on the surface.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought the look was cool. Now, a few issues I had with the whole fish people thing. Number one is Namor and his winged feet. Now, I think
he's a mutant, Dave.
I guess this must be straight up from the comics, right? And he must have winged feet and can fly. But I think historically, right, there was a time when the Thor movie was about to come out, and there was a lot of people speculating, like, you know, is this an easy thing to adapt? Because it's like fantasy in space, and it's weird, and it's a weird left turn from the relatively grounded Iron Man and other superhero things we've seen. Mm-hmm. Like, are people going to buy that? And they did, and so that was a bit of a gamble at the time. And I think every time Marvel have pushed the boat out a bit more with like translating some of their stuff and from comic book to screen, because they do risk things looking absurd or silly.
It did look silly, I think.
And I think it looked silly. I think it looked stupid. And I think they obviously made a decision he could have just taken his winged ankles off or found another way for him to fly to stay true to the character. But look, they made a choice. For me, it did not work. It looked stupid. It just is such a stupid concept, if you ask me.
Well, it's kind of cool though. If you
how
could
do the
do
physics work? Like, how could wings on tiny wings on your feet not only
explain that he
keep you
propels
afloat,
himself using energy from water?
Yes, but then he stays afloat. Like, what? You would be upside down. Your legs would
Dave,
go to the air.
He propels himself.
How does he
using
stay straight?
energy?
How does he? It is
from water.
It is not your centre of gravity and your ankles.
He's a magical fish man. He's a mutant.
I hate it.
You've watched the X-Men. Like, what's your problem?
But
if I can believe in like Jennifer Lawrence being blue head to toe, being Mystique, I can believe in this dude having that ability.
I have another problem. The fish people grew gills, right? We saw them grow gills on their neck, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they breathe through gills, like fish do.
And they can't breathe on air, yeah.
But yet when they come up to the surface, they don't cover their gills with water, they cover their mouths with water.
Maybe they also covered their gills with water and we just didn't see that bit.
I don't know, that didn't really make sense.
I love the idea of his mom being pregnant and drinking like this magical juice, and because he's the only person who was ever, like, he was conceived on air but then drank the potion in utero and then was born in the water, that he is like, no one else of that tribe will ever have that experience again.
That was kind of cool. And I
thought his backstory was really cool. Again, it could have been its own TV show or something.
And I also liked that they were descendants of the Mayan people. Which also explained to me in the moment why her AI which annoyed me. Shuri's AI was instantly able to translate their language and then create a translation. I was like, how would it be able to do that? But then it identified it as an ancient Mayan language.
And then when they were speaking in blue, cool. That was the Mayan language.
Yeah,
I liked the subtitles are different colours.
But I thought the backstory was interesting, and I also liked that it directly paralleled with the first movie's theme of sort of colonialism and the history of that, and an oppressed colonial force. So Wakanda and whatever his Namor's village was called, Tukanda or something, whatever it was, they shared a lot of sort of shared.
And that was like
they had
sad.
a common enemy.
It was sad when he, like, at the very first time we met him, and he said, like, your brother introduced the world to vibranium. This is your fault. You need to help us. I was like, he's actually got a really good point there. Yeah. He just didn't need to go straight to bring me the scientist so I can kill her as his, like, next
as
part.
with a lot of the Marvel villains nowadays, in recent times, they all have sort of somewhat of a point you can see, but it's their methods which are questionable.
Yeah, like, I believed it. Like, I genuinely believed it, and I actually thought it was really sad at the end. Like, I thought the fight scene looked really good and wasn't like like I've never seen in a Marvel film. There's usually very much like city destruction, and it's really dull.
Yeah, the stuff on the boat was awesome.
I
love the vertical fight scene.
Loved all
with
that.
her on the side of the boat.
It was like fantasy when you're watching people, you know, scaling up castle walls and stuff. Yeah. I really enjoyed all that stuff, but it made me really sad because you're watching these two incredibly unique cultures fighting each other when they shouldn't be, because actually their common enemy is, in this film, America, who's trying to take uranium,
or France, as it turns out.
Any Western country who's actually trying to steal their resources and attack them. So it was actually really sad seeing that boat scene, and I think that's why it was really profound when they somewhat reconciled, albeit because she was about to murder him and it was under threat. And they came back in the helicopter, and like nobody, the second they said stop fighting, everyone stopped fighting. Like no one wanted to be doing it except for his weird number two, who was like, I've waited my whole life to fight by your side.
Yeah.
But like I thought that was really sad. I didn't like to see that, because at the very beginning when she was underwater and looking at the culture with him, it was such a beautiful moment, and
that was good. But here's where I'll be a bit controversial, because I actually thought Aquaman.
Define controversial.
Well, it always comes down to DC and Marvel, right? And I tend to be very much in the Marvel camp. But I actually thought
it doesn't always come to those two.
I thought Aquaman did a better job. Me and all of online. I thought Aquaman actually did a better job of world building, if I'm honest, and was more visually interesting and colourful. And I think Ryan Coogler made a very distinct choice with this, in that it is very dark. Now
which is what it would be under the sea.
Exactly, it is dark underwater. There's no light. Now, and they go to lengths to explain that. They've got a vibranium sun and some glowy blue earthworms or whatever. But like, Aquaman doesn't make a lick of sense why everything is so colourful and vibrant, but by God, it looked amazing. And there was an octopus playing the drums, and it was just like, for me, it was just a bit more of a treat for the eyes. I thought this world and the production design of it were a bit sort of uninteresting, I gotta say.
Well, they were just more realistic. It actually, frankly, made me feel panicked, because only once have I ever tried like actual like
visiting a underwater
diving,
sea,
and I like nearly had a panic attack, and turns out if you're like asthmatic, it's not a good idea, but I didn't know that at the time. And like I felt really sick when they were in the diver suit, like watching it, because it felt really realistic. I never felt that with Aquaman, because obviously it was just ludicrous. Also, it's because she specifically like got in the suit and was really deep underwater, and I thought, like, what if something comes and like smashes her helmet? I don't know, it felt too realistic.
No, see, I had the complete opposite reaction. I thought all of that just looked really silly and floaty, and they were just like zipping all over the place. And
I thought it was really nice. I was like, I was such a loser. For a second I was like, oh my God, what if like him and Letitia Wright fell in love and like they could both rule these incredible kingdoms together? Yeah. That was where my head went.
That's where your head was, in the middle of this movie.
Do you know there was a point when there was a point in the movie where I was like, thought it was coming to an end, and then a whole new plot happened, and it was the boat thing. them going out to sea, and I thought, oh God, I thought it was nearly finished. As much as I then enjoyed the boat scene, I had moments where I was like, wait, what, you're starting a new story now?
Well, I was okay. I was with it at that stage.
Like, I thought when he came to Wakanda and attacked, I thought that was the climax of the movie.
I thought the third act was actually good, and normally it's the opposite in a lot of Marvel stuff. I actually thought the first act and the middle bit were the weakest.
It made me really sad as well, though, to see Wakanda destroyed. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, to me, Wakanda's like an impenetrable fortress. Third time we see Wakanda, it's already being destroyed. Do you know what I mean? Like, Marvel can't hold anything dear.
Yeah.
And it just was really sad, and it also annoyed me because if they all know that they attack from the water, why are there people out in boats?
They were so stupidly unprepared because she gets back after knowing that they're going to come for them, and then the only line of dialogue we get is raise the shields, make sure the shields are okay, and it's just like, you fucking idiots, they came in before under the shields through the water. Like, how are you so unprepared? And there's people
they had
just
a thing in the sky,
just watching these people in boats. I'm like, you fucking idiots.
Yeah, that really annoyed me. That annoyed me so much. It just didn't make sense, but it's because the film's like, oh, it needs to be attacked now. No, but I'm like, we've got the most logical, clever, essential character, would never allow that to happen.
Exactly. I think this film suffers from some logic flaws, some plot holes, and it was just like, it kept taking me out and being messy. So look, there was stuff I really liked the end. I thought it was really
I loved the end.
Beautiful. Yeah. I was
crying at
the
end.
I loved this whole sort of this other sort of parallel. All the Shuri stuff was excellent. This whole her sort of shirking traditionalism and rituals for technology, that all felt and progression, and that all felt very consistent with her character. And to end it, finally on her doing the morning ritual for her mother and her brother.
When she said I don't want to remember my brother. So we see the brother at the very beginning, or we see them talking about him and images of him in the kind of initial death scene.
But she's burying herself in work.
And then she says, I don't want to think about my brother, don't talk about my brother. And it's only at the very end of the film.
No, we don't see him at the beginning.
No, I'm saying we see images of him and they're talking about him as he's dying, and then we see the Marvel intro.
But we never see images of him.
You
ever,
do in the Marvel
until
intro?
The end. Oh, in the Marvel intro,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then we don't see them again till the end. I love the Marvel intro with him. I thought that was really beautifully done, and the silence. And then at the end, we wait till the end to see him again, because she's finally remembering him and it's all happy memories.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so beautiful.
Now, I agree. I loved it. And I really thought the closing credits were very classy and beautiful. Mm-hmm. The music was lovely, and just those close-up shots of their ritual garbs
you dress
being
you
burned.
wear in the funeral dress, which is beautiful tradition.
Nice idea. And but the thing that so I thought the next scene where they introduced T'Challa Jr. Firstly, very cute little actor. He was very adorable, but it kind of and I thought it was lovely seeing Letitia Wright's performance reacting to him, but it did just feel it's just like.
But
so now we're going to have Black Panther 6.
But she's
going to
Black
be him,
Panther.
and I'm
why
just
did they have to immediately undermine her?
Well, that too.
By introducing a new character.
It was just I think it was a bit of a dud moment, if I'm honest. And also why did you keep him a secret from
why is he
Shuri all this time? He's 5 or 6, and then she says, your brother I don't think her brother would have kept that a secret from her.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I don't think, because they also said that the mother has met him and is aware of him. So I'd be super pissed off if I was Shuri, and it's just you been keeping this from me the whole time.
Yeah, I would as well.
So anyway, but look, I think that's kind of the movie. I don't know. We've rabbited on for a long while.
We always talk way too much about these movies, but it's because there's now so many of them. You can't help but retread issues you've had with other ones, or things that have happened in other ones, because they're all so linked with each other. Yeah. Even I know the tip of the spear of Wakanda, that warrior who I love, who kind of lost and got her job back again.
We didn't even talk about that.
She was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, right? Wasn't she in that?
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
ages?
briefly. Yeah.
I thought she was in a few episodes.
But sorry, why?
So I really liked her, and I was I'm really pleased to see her on screen again.
She's awesome, but why Did she have this subplot, which again just felt kind of shoehorned in and pointless, where Angela Bassett, this is the scene where she chewed up the scenery, where she was like so over the top, like, you lost my daughter, you're fired. I'm just like, we don't have time for all this. And
Angela Bassett's like, you lost everything, I lost everything, your husband's in jail. I'm like, huh? I don't remember the plot with her and her husband from the last film.
She got very what's her name from Scandal? It was like that.
Olivia Pope. It
got very like staccato sentences.
Yeah,
I am the queen.
Yeah, it was just a lot. But I think they shouldn't have been harking back to subplots from the previous movie on her and her husband. And I include, when I say subplot from a previous movie, I include Martin Freeman in that. Like, you don't need to keep referencing the first movie, especially when there's been so many movies in between, and we've seen them all in other movies. Like, that's fine, but like, that's past now.
This movie is bloated.
That scene confused me. So yeah, that was weird. But I just think that the ending was lovely. And forget about it. Never watch post-credit scenes. That's my advice. Yeah,
well, and also always Google in the moment or beforehand, are there post-credit scenes? Because there isn't any after the credits, and I checked this, so we got up to leave after the mid-credits one, and there were people still waiting, and they were going to get nothing, and I was like, do I just, like, I got a moment where I was like, do I tell these people?
They won't believe you though, they'll just
but is that
anyway.
Weird? And then I got to the end of the stairs and I was like, should I turn around and like make an announcement to the whole cinema? Guys, you're wasting your time, there's nothing.
And they used to tease you, because like in She-Hulk sometimes there was post-credits, so sometimes there wasn't, so we were like schmucks at the end of every She-Hulk.
I just felt for those people. There were about 8 people left in the cinema who were just going to be very disappointed.
Also, by the way, ending on Wakanda Forever, so we both did enjoy it, albeit it had basically the typical issues you'd have with a Marvel movie.
No, I don't agree that these are the typical issues with a Marvel movie. Some of them are typical.
All of them can be summed up as
trying to do too much
and trying to do too much.
Yeah, and also trying to set up a load of other things.
Yeah, I mean the specifics are different, but the overall is the same criticism, right?
Yeah.
But I'm obsessed with Letitia right now.
Yeah.
Like, come on, what an actress!
Great
like,
work.
Imagine being in those 2 films at the same time. Like, that's just so incredible.
Incredible.
Anyway,
thanks for listening.
Head over to patreon.com/cinemile. As we mentioned, we do a ton of TV and movie reviews. We forgot to mention we're also doing recaps on Love is Blind Season 3.
Yep.
Which we're completely addicted to.
We finished.
Come and find us on Instagram @Cinemile. We're on Letterboxd now, which we're having loads of fun on, and loads of you connected with us. So
or you can email us at thecinemile@gmail.com. Twitter may or may not even exist by the time
we keep
you're
saying
listening
that.
to this.
I think it's less likely to exist by the minute.
No, but now it's like, as of right now, they're saying it may not be working by Monday. Like, they're so like short of staff and critical engineers. It's mental what's happened in such a short period.
Anyway,
we've only done like 2 episodes of this podcast in the time that Twitter has like exploded. So anyway, thanks for listening.
Best found on Patreon, Instagram, or Letterboxd. And see y'all soon.
Bye.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What would you say if I told you there's a book that can teach you how to win The Bachelor?
What would you say if I told you producers caught multiple finalists reading that book in this season that's currently airing?
What would you say if I told you the producers don't want anyone to know that their show has been compromised?
How do we know all this? We wrote that book.
I'm Lizzie Pace.
And I'm Chad Colchin.
We're the authors of How to Win the Bachelor and the hosts of the Game of Roses podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we break down all the biggest plays, errors, and MVPs in the game of reality television.
Listen to Game of Roses wherever you get your podcasts and go to howtowinthebachelor.com to get our book.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.